My name's Andy Young. I'm associate counsel at Tech Freedom. We're a small think tank focused on technology law and policy. And I work on legal issues focused on consumer protection and artificial intelligence. The Federal Trade Commission, or FTC, is at the intersection of these areas of law right now. So today I'm here to talk to you about FTC authority over AI. And I'm going to look back at some recent FTC actions from 2024 as examples of the type of authority they have. So today I'll be focusing on the FTC's core authority that comes from the FTC Act. And the FTC has authority over unfair methods of competition and unfair or deceptive acts or practices in or affecting commerce. In terms of FTC authority over AI, the FTC's go-to line this year, they've repeated it in multiple filings and blog posts, is that there is no AI exemption from the laws on the books. And in this case, the law on the books is the FTC Act. And I gave a lightning talk same time last year on FTC authority over AI. At the time, it was maybe controversial that the FTC has authority to regulate certain aspects of artificial intelligence, but that's not controversial anymore, I don't think. The FTC's consumer protection and competition authorities apply to AI. And high level, what the FTC can do is it can investigate companies, it can bring enforcement actions, and it can create rules. So I'll go over each of those three categories and give some examples of each that they've done as it relates to AI. My first example is the staff report on AI partnerships and investments. This is really recent. This came out January 2025, so last month. And it was the result of a year-long study on partnerships between cloud service providers and AI developers. And the investigation focused on 3 generative AI partnerships between 5 AI companies. These are the partnerships on the board. You've probably heard of some of these companies. And what the report does is it details the structures of the partnerships and outlines some potential competition issues or implications of these sorts of partnerships in the artificial intelligence area. For now, it's just a study, but it could lead to enforcement actions down the road. So we'll see. My next example is of the FTC's enforcement authority as applied to AI. This is called what FTC deemed Operation AI Comply. It was an enforcement sweep announced in September 2024. And what the FTC did is it brought 5 enforcement actions against AI companies. 4 of those enforcement actions were related to deceptive claims about AI services. For example, a company called Do Not Pay overhyped its, according to the FTC, overhyped its AI lawyer tool. It told folks in its advertising, you don't need to hire a real lawyer. Our AI tool is just as good. And they got in trouble for that. And I think the takeaway is to always hire a real lawyer. And one of the enforcement actions was distinct, and that's called the Writer case. And I think this one's really interesting. It was against a company called Writer, which sold and promoted an AI writing tool that could generate content for reviews. And what the FTC sued Writer for, quote unquote, furnishing users with the means to generate written content for consumer reviews that is false and deceptive. So this is a sort of controversial concept called means and instrumentalities liability. And the idea is that you can hold AI developers liable for how users use their tools, whether they misuse them or they use them in ways that you advertise, which are actually illegal. Commissioner Ferguson and Holyoake dissented from Writer. And I'm going to read a quick quote to give you a sense of how they think about AI regulation moving forward. Ferguson and Holyoake dissented, treating as categorically illegal a generative AI tool merely because of the possibility that someone might use it for fraud as inconsistent with our precedents and common sense. And doing so risks strangulating AI technology in its cradle. Now remember that rather violent language at the end, because that does come back up, believe it or not. Last example, FTC authority over rulemaking as applied to AI. And this has been a little bit more dormant, at least for now. I really only have 2 examples. One's on the board. Whoop. The one's on the board. And the most relevant example I want to focus on is on the impersonation rule. The FTC finalized it in December 2024, and it prohibits impersonating government agencies and businesses. During the rulemaking, the FTC proposed but then abandoned a means and instrumentalities provision, which would have held developers liable for providing AI services with reason to know the tools could be used to generate unlawful impersonations, like deepfakes. They abandoned that provision, but what's interesting is they were toying with this idea of means and instrumentalities liability via rulemaking. They did not move forward with it, but they did move forward with it in the Writer case that we just talked about. So this idea of holding AI developers liable for the tools they create based on how users use them is an ongoing issue that the current FTC will be focused on. I'm going to conclude just by quickly contrasting the approaches to AI policy of the quote-unquote Biden-era FTC with what we can expect based on speeches so far going forward. So with regards to AI, the Biden-era FTC was focused on basically privacy and algorithmic fairness. I think the seminal Biden FTC case on AI is the Rite Aid case from 2023, which focuses on those issues. It was led by Chair Lina Khan. She was a progressive chair of the FTC who's most famous for wanting to break up Amazon. So there was a focus on anti-big tech during that period. Moving forward, the commission appears focused on a light touch approach to AI regulation with a focus on competition and also continuing to scrutinize big tech, making sure incumbents are not locked in as the leaders in this space seems to be a focus of the incoming administration. And I'll just conclude by quoting the conclusion of the new chair, Andrew Ferguson's dissent to the AI 6B study. He said, the commission should strike a careful and prudent balance to AI regulation and, here we go again, avoid strangling this nascent technology in its cradle. So in general, this is a pro-AI commission now. And what they're going to focus on is the main thing they will focus on for AI, I predict, will be big tech's role in AI development. Thank you so much for your time.